This is Southern Cross News with Joe Palmer.
Fire crews remain on the scene of a house fire at Sandy Bay as they work to fully extinguish a blaze that broke out this morning. Neighbours armed with garden hoses tried to stop the spread of fire but couldn't save the three-storey waterfront home.
Flames gushing from a top-floor window as fire crews do what they can to battle an inferno. What would have been a prized waterfront home going up in flames. As water pours down the outside, on the inside another team tries to stop the fire's spread. This emergency was called in by residents just before 11:30, who at first noticed a large amount of smoke.
But in very little time, that billowing smoke turned into licking flames coming through the roof. It was quite frightening and still is.
Neighbours rushing home when they learned of the fire.
They were pretty stressed when they got here. Kim rang them and the lady ran in quickly to get the dog out. But they were concerned because it was right on their boundary.
Firefighters squeezed down the side of the house trying to stop the blaze from spreading to other properties. The scale of this fire so dangerous, additional crews were called in from training to help in the fight. And they weren't the only ones who helped.
There was one person that was here on scene early and they kicked in the front door and checked to see if anyone was in there. Other neighbours were around with garden hoses trying to stop it.
As the flames and smoke begin to die down here at the scene, it's clear most of this property has been completely gutted.
So it's essentially ground and first floors, which you can see, that have been involved in fire.
While no one was hurt in the incident, this afternoon the fire service sadly confirmed a pet cat perished in the blaze. The cause of the fire is yet to be determined. Michael Breen, Southern Cross News.
Police have confirmed the identity of a body found on a private property between Orford and Oatlands over the weekend. It's been formally identified as the body of Dwayne Robert Davies, who went missing more than a week ago. An autopsy found the Risdon Vale man died from a gunshot wound. 2 people have been charged in relation to his death. Tasmanian councils are taking an extraordinary step against the state government's proposal to take ownership and control of Taswater. They've obtained legal advice suggesting the takeover would breach the law, but the state government says that's not the case.
Local councils today teaming up with Taswater's chairman, a united front against the state government's takeover plans, opening the floodgates. Taswater releasing this document to the media. 14 pages of preliminary legal advice, it says, shows the government's plans could be in breach of the law.
While that legal advice is preliminary, it's reasonably conclusive in its suggestion that the proposed takeover by the state government may not be legal.
Tasmania's councils, as owners or shareholders of Taswater, say the takeover doesn't include adequate compensation.
We want what is a fair deal, and the deal that we have at the moment is not fair, and it is indeed against the wishes of local government.
Taswater says it's a company established under the Corporations Act, and state legislation can't override shareholder protections contained in this federal law. But the state government says it has its own legal advice.
It wouldn't be a good move for local government to invest ratepayers' money in fighting against cheaper water prices. Can I make that point? But we're very confident that our proposal around Taswater is lawful.
But amid the legal argument, the Property Council says the government's action is needed, with 25 communities currently impacted by do not consume or boiled water alerts.
I think there's a long-held view in Tasmania that we need to have first world water and sewerage provision, not just for Tasmanian residents, but to attract investment and development.
They've spoken about a crisis which doesn't exist. As has been pointed out, the boiled water alerts will be fixed before they can take over anyway.
Taswater says it doesn't want to take the matter to court, but will take whatever steps are necessary. Michael Breen, Southern Cross News.
And the explosive claims of a potential constitutional breach in the Taswater takeover bid has also dominated the first day of budget estimates. Both the Premier and the local government minister have been grilled on the legislation that's due to be released in August.
It was the hot topic on day one of budget estimates.
Did you seek legal advice from the Solicitor General about your ability to take over Taswater?
I can advise you and the committee that the government has taken advice, and on the basis of that advice, we believe that the Taswater takeover, as you call it, is constitutional.
Both the Premier and the local government minister repeatedly challenged on exactly where that legal advice came from.
You verbally me in regards to who you believe I've taken advice from. As I've said,
why don't you just answer the question? Tell us who you've taken advice from.
I've taken advice from a range of different sources, and I form the view that it's lawful.
Attention soon turning to when the Taswater legislation would be out for consultation, as the government plans a takeover for July next year.
Legislation is being drafted, and I imagine, yes, possibly even to be released in August.
The legislation needing to pass both Houses of Parliament before any legal action by councils can take place.
Then if the government decided to challenge that, we might see that go on appeal could go all the way to the High Court.
Meanwhile, the Greens used estimates to push the issue of poker machines revenue, with the gaming monopoly deed reaching its final years.
But you're avoiding the question.
No, I'm providing you with this local context.
Into the economy instead of into the pockets of the Farrell family.
There'll be a competitive process applied to future gaming arrangements, that there will be a community interest test applied as well.
Health is expected to be a major topic when budget estimates resumes tomorrow. Jacqueline Robson, Southern Cross News.
Today marks 12 months since one of the state's most confronting natural disasters began. The extreme floods experienced last June and July decimated homes and property and claimed 3 lives. Now, an independent report reveals crucial gaps in the state's preparedness in some of the hardest hit areas.
The scale was enormous. Considered a once-in-a-century flooding event, it caused nearly $200 million in damage. Infrastructure demolished, livestock helpless, properties inundated. Worst of all, 3 lives were lost. Now the independent report into the floods is public, and criticism is aimed at the response framework. It finds emergency plans existed in Latrobe, but may not have been acted upon appropriately. The report also critical of warnings and responses for the Northwest being centred in Launceston, which made it harder to access key documents and to provide help to the region.
We'll learn from this report, we'll learn from this event.
Councils are also under fire for inconsistent and, in some cases, outdated flood maps, which were sometimes hard to access.
Flood mapping in Tasmania is a little bit all over the place. Insurers also use flood maps to work out where insurance premiums can be fine-tuned.
Despite reports of slow insurance payouts after the event, there are no calls for insurance laws to change. The report praises the use of flood levies in Launceston and Longford, but stops short of calling for more to be built. The findings also confirm controversial cloud seeding on the day of the floods did not contribute to the rainfall.
We do acknowledge that our cloud seeding on the 5th of June caused extra concern to the community, and we want to make sure that when we start cloud seeding again, if we do decide to, that we can do it in a way that meets community considerations.
The report acknowledges the enormity of the situation and finds the response in most cases was sound. The government must now consider the 24 recommendations on the table.
Of course, we'll take each and every one of those recommendations very, very seriously.
For many, the emotion is still raw. The task now is to ensure the devastation of 12 months ago is never repeated. Tom Johnson, Southern Cross News.
The Royal Hobart Hospital's emergency department has had its code yellow downgraded this afternoon. The internal disaster alarm was raised late yesterday due to an extremely high level of patient demand. The Nurses Union had been calling for a code yellow days before it was implemented.
Extra areas, capacity, extra staff could have had a much more planned approach rather than the absolute crisis with all of the nurses who opened up the transit lounge area where 5 patients stayed on trolleys last night.
The emergency department has since returned to a level 3 escalation. Now let's take a look at the day's business and finance news with thanks to Tasplan, your local super fund. Australian shares have tracked lower throughout the day as weakness in the major banks undercut any gains from surprisingly strong company profits data. The ASX 200 index has dropped by 33.2 points. A short time ago, the Australian dollar was trading at 74.58 US cents and 104.7 New Zealand cents. And the votes are in for the RACT Insurance Player of the Year in the TSL after round 10, with Nat Franklin polling the 3 votes in Lauderdale's upset win over North Launceston. Rala Kelly Mansell took full points in Launceston's win over Devonport. Mitch Walker was best of field for the Tigers at West Park, and Jay Bowden took 3 points in the win over Hobart City Demons. To the leaderboard, and Zach Burt, Tom Couch and Jay Bowden are locked in 9 votes each. Dylan Fife, Ryan Matthews and Jay Blackberry trail behind. In the NPL, Northern Rangers are looking to capitalise on its recent derby win over Launceston City. An 80th minute strike helped the Rangers get over the line 2-1. The side now prepares for its biggest test this season when it takes on South Hobart next round.
Hard work pays off. They kept working all game. Yeah, we'll be under the pump in the second half, but in a league like this, you're not going to dominate games.
The team has this weekend off for the final of the Lacasseljak Cup.
Good evening. Hobart 16 degrees today, Launceston 15, Burnie and Devonport recorded 14. Fingal and Friendly Beach is our high with 17, and early showers did clear the northeast today with late showers developing over the west this afternoon. Bit of fog about this morning too, upsetting a few airline schedules. No big falls though to report around the state. Campania and St Helens 16 today, Grove, Bushy Park and the Islands 15, Low Head and Wynyard 14, Scottsdale and Smithton 13 degrees and Lyre-Weenie 7. There is a frontal band of cloud over the eastern bight heading our way. A moist southeasterly onshore flow produced cloud over the eastern mainland, an upper jet stream evident over the far north and central areas of the nation. Mostly low-level cloud over the west, south and north of the state today. Plenty to see. Tomorrow, a broad area of high pressure extends a ridge over Tasmania in the wake of a cold front. Another front is south of WA with a prefrontal trough over that state as well. The wind south-southwesterly at 15 to 25 knots, but to 20 to 30 knots over eastern waters, swells to 4 metres in the west and south. Strong wind warnings on for all Tasmanian coastal waters, a small craft wind alert for the lakes. Tuesday in Hobart 11 degrees, 12 degrees for Adventure Bay and morning showers 2 for Tarraleah, a top of 7. Early fog, then a mostly sunny day for Launceston, 12 the top, 13 and sunny for Devonport and Bridport. For Burnie tomorrow, mostly sunny and 13, 11 the high for Strawn with early showers easing. Marrawar, an early shower as well, 12 the maximum. A shower or 2 for St Helens on 13, Swansea 12 and 13 also for Whitemark on Flinders Island. Wednesday, areas of morning frost and fog, a light morning shower over the east coast. Showers in the west on Thursday, mostly morning showers elsewhere, and morning fog and frost on Friday, fine apart from a shower over the west, far south and King Island. A sunny 24 in Perth tomorrow, some cloud over Adelaide, showers clearing from Melbourne, a shower or 2 also forecast for Canberra and Sydney, but fine for Brisbane and Darwin. A little bit of shower activity at the moment, 11 degrees in Hobart, 11 degrees in Launceston, 10 in Devonport. Rest of the week, bit of a mixed bag, Joe, fairly cool, which is not cool.
It is not cool at all. Thank you very much, Murph. And that's all from the news team for now. We'll see you, of course, with updates throughout the evening. Have a great night. See you again soon.